Hello, welcome to my channel again. This is not my game, just gonna get that out there. This is called All Location. It was put in Mark Brown's Game Jam 2018. I think it's a really good idea that I want out to expand on. So my idea is based off of this idea, which is why I'm kind of showing you this idea first. The idea of their idea was that you get to place rooms right in a Metroidvania. You can place rooms wherever you want. I thought you could. Oh yeah, I'm using the wrong control scheme. So the idea is you can place them wherever you want. Z key, and then you place them. I place that one right there, and then when I go back to the game, yeah, I have to use their control scheme. So when I go back to the game, I can go to those games those rooms I just added, right? And then I get a new room. So that's how their game works, right? It's fine. They view it more like a puzzle thing because, well, first off, the thing I don't like about it is you have to get to the room and then you have to get back, which is annoying. And the second thing I don't like about it is that it's more of a puzzle game where you can clear the rooms you placed at any time and then try something else. I don't 100% like that. The idea I have is that you start out with a grid, right? Just like they do, right? You start with a grid, and then you're going to have a starting point, right? Like a starting point might be here, and there, of course, you could go in any direction from there, right? And you have your list over here, which is all the rooms that you found. You start out with like 2 rooms, right? The idea is I click on a room over here, then I put it here, right? And it might let me go over here. The first point of this idea is any open door, like I have a door here that's open, it doesn't connect to anything, right? This will become a start point. You start here, and then you go back to the center. It's always going back to the center. Another idea is that there would be a boss right here, a key, maybe like a boss key, like you have to get to the boss, like a Zelda game, where you have to go to the boss, you have to get to the boss key, and then you gotta get to the boss, and then you gotta get to like a exit, right here, big E for exit. So that'd be the idea. You start out here, you place rooms, till you get to the key. Like I might put it from here, that lets me get to the key. And then once I got the key, I could start another run to maybe go here, and then I could get to the boss. And once I beat the boss, I have to get, the idea is you have to get the key, and then I have to go back here in order to have that run keep. Basically, I'm adding in some roguelike elements too, because the idea is each run is onto itself. Like I have to get to the boss key, and then I have to get the boss key and get back. In this case, it's pretty much I have to start here and then run all the way up there because that's how I designed it. The idea is you have more, like if there's more spaces up here, right? Maybe I could put, instead of coming at it here, I can maybe come at it from up here, right? And then have one with an open space like this here. So I could start here and I just gotta go through one room. Or maybe I could even make this have something up here and add another one up here. You get the idea, right? You determine where you start by how you place the buildings. Leaving it open door just makes it so you can start there. The good thing about this idea is you fail fast because you're going into a room that you have no idea about first. You're not going to it last. After you go through if you have to start at the center every time, you're going through a bunch of rooms you know to get to the room you don't. Now, how are you going to get more rooms? That's the next thing. You get more rooms by getting gems inside of the rooms. Every gem, depending on its difficulty, has between 1 and 3 gems in it. The goal is to get the 3 gems and then get back to the center. Or get to the boss key, back to the center. Beat the boss and then go back to the center. If you beat the boss without going back to the center, it doesn't matter. You always have to get back to the center to save, right? Otherwise you have to restart the run entirely. And if you get to the exit, once you get to the exit, you go to the next level, which will give you a different grid, right? With a different boss, a different key, and a different exit to get to. So the idea is I might have like 7 or 8 levels that you go through, right? This is basically the system from it. You might notice that how you unlock rooms is very similar to Hand of Fate, where you unlock more cards by completing cards. This you unlock more rooms by basically completing rooms, by going into a room and getting all the gems, and then getting back to the center. You save. You get more rooms. Rooms have right now I'm thinking like 6 different types, right? I'm thinking there'd be like timed rooms where you have so long to get from the beginning to the end. You have so long to get out of that room. There's just straight puzzle maze rooms where you go through. You have to work your way through a maze, and you may have a maze room that is timed, so that it can actually be multiple things in one room. Except that maze room, the thing about them are I was going to have it be dark, and you need to. They require an item called candle, just like in Zelda. The idea is you have to get the candle, and then you can go through the maze. You can't go through you can go through the maze, except it'd be really hard to go through the maze without the candle. So some rooms are going to require specific items. How do you get those items? You unlock them by getting the room that gives you the item. So let's go back here. I'm still thinking this thing through. The idea is you have item rooms, right? That gives you an item, like say a candle, or another item I'm thinking of is maybe a ring that lets you move through lava, or there's we can think of other ones as we go. The idea is you have item rooms, then you have puzzle room, not puzzle, but maze rooms, which are dark by definition, but it might not be dark. I don't want to say they're all going to be dark. I guess sometimes they just have a little maze. It's just meant to slow you down and be mildly annoying, like on easy. By hard, or throw enemies and stuff in there, and it'd be a little bit harder. And then you have another one. What I was going to do is trap rooms, where there's some sort of trap mechanic in the room, and you have to navigate the trap to get out of it. And then you have enemy rooms where there's just a bunch of enemies. You can engage with the enemies or not, depending on what you want to do. Except there's also what I call key rooms, where one of the enemies has a key. You have to find the key. You find the key, and then you can move on. It forces you to go into the combat encounter. Combat, the way I see it working, is you have a sword, and the thing about the sword is it will let you. Well, you start out with no weapon whatsoever. You're completely unarmed. You have to put down a weapon room. Weapon rooms give you a weapon when you get to them. So strategizing for where you're going to put your weapon rooms is going to be pretty important. You have a sword that lets you parry. You have a battle axe, which is a 2-handed weapon that lets you hit every hit that you don't get hit as like a combo meter. As you continue hitting, it does more and more damage. And then you have a spear that actually can critical. Nothing else can critical. The idea is each one is decidedly different. They each have their own animation. Axe give you a wider arc. Sword lets you parry, of course, and gives you a very straight arc. And the spear has basically the tip is the only thing that actually does damage, and you can stand off on range and just continue hitting until they die. You know what I mean? So the idea of all this is that you have the combat's going to be pretty deliberate is the idea. Like depending on which weapon you pick, it's going to react differently. You can either get the more range of the spear, the arc of the axe, or the parrying of the sword. And depending on which one you choose, where you place them determines kind of and how far you want to go out of your way on a run. Because remember, where you place the buildings, right? The rooms are important. If you put one, if you have the weapon room at the very beginning and you're starting at the end, you're not going to get that weapon room until you're almost done anyway. So you have to like forethink where, okay, if I always start here, right? I start right next to the boss. I have no weapon. That is a problem. Which means when I design the bosses, I'm going to have to design to where you can beat them without a weapon. Which is a challenge, I gotta admit. So that's the idea. It's a roguelite. And I picture it like a top-down view. Like this would be you. Top-down view. You're running around. Though actually my idea right now is to basically make you a little centaur. Ignore my art, but that's the idea. You have a centaur, and this is your left and right arm, and you're like, I have a sword, brah. So you get the idea, right? By making you a centaur, first off, I don't know that many games that have centaurs in it, which would be kind of interesting. And I'm pulling the thing, my centaur adventure is kind of the idea. So you have centaur, you're centaur, and the reason why you're centaur is because of this part right here. It does give you a little bit more place to animate. If it's just a person, you're basically this. Yay. Whereas if I make you a centaur, I can have your legs move up and down. I can have a mane that flows, right? I could do things with a centaur that I can't do with a person. It just makes it a much more interesting sprite than just a person. The enemies I'm okay with them being less interesting. It's that the main character, I want to have some things. And I really don't want to do like Zelda 45 thing, right? Where you have a person. That's not great. I don't like it because it makes the programming more complicated. It makes it more animation. Because I have to animate top down, left, right, and whereas if I do it completely top down, I can literally just rotate the sprite the direction you're moving. Gives you more freedom and range. Makes combat a little more interesting because you can attack in more than just the 4 cardinal directions. I feel like top down's the way to go. And making a centaur, I feel like will give me the ability to do what I need to do. So you place rooms, and then you become the centaur. You choose your starting place, and then you start running through your rooms. Enemies give you gold, as does chests inside of rooms that don't have enemies. The idea is you collect gold, and actually, it's probably not going to be gold. It's probably going to be something like pieces of gem, right? And the idea is you collect those pieces of gem, and you can, first off, there are going to be good old shop rooms. You got a shop room, yay! And the idea of the shop rooms is once you buy something from a shop, it gets added to the global shop, so that next run you could just start with it if you have enough shards. That's the general idea. And you could also, each room, let's say I find a room, right? I find it, yay! That means I get to place it one time. If I want to place it more than one time, I have to go in the menu to a shop
It's like a menu shop, and then I have to use shards from my last run to buy a new version of that room. And it will start with no gems for you to get. So you can only get the gems from a specific room once. If you have multiple instances of that room, good for you. It's not going to give you any advantage. And you have to actually collect shards from a run to get that. And of course, like any roguelite, when you start your next run, you lose all the shards that you had. So it's just constantly like grinding for shards. So you might have to grind for shards to get a specific room, to get to a specific area. Or maybe you can just unlock it. There are going to be 3 difficulties for rooms. So if I have a room that looks like this, right? There's a door here and a door here. I'm going to have an easy version, a medium version, and a hard version of this room. And of course there's going to be multiple types of that room. Like maybe there's one straight room that's a puzzle, that's like a maze room. And I have another one that's a timed room. And I have another one that's a combat room, and another one that's another combat room. And they're all straight, right? And except they're all different. So you might find multiple versions of the same room and multiple difficulties of the same room. So you shouldn't hit a point where you're like where you have to buy a new one. Except you might want to buy a new one because maybe you want to add an easy room right here because it's just you think it would be good for you. Then there's also rooms that heal you, like a good old heart room. Yay! You get there, you get some amount of health based on the difficulty of the heart room. And I'm also considering making it so you have like a sword 1, and then you have a sword 2, which actually is easier to parry with, and then you have sword 3 that's even easier to parry with. And you have the same thing with the axe. You have axe 1, which does so much % damage every hit that you don't, every combo, right? Every hit and the combo gives more damage. And if you have the third one, it does way more damage than if you have the first one, the level 1 one. So that's something I'm kicking around. Now, if I wanted to be really mean, what I'd make it do is, you have to have the level 1 sword to get the level 2 sword. And you can only have one weapon at a time. That might be a little bit too mean. I'd have a little feedback on that. And also, right now, like you go on a run, get the key, and then you get back to the center, and then that key is saved. You don't have to do that run again. Now you have to run to the boss. To use the key to open up the door to fight the boss. I could make you have to do the whole thing in one run, but that sounds a little mean. I like the idea that you just have to do it in each discrete part. Like you have to get the boss key, you have to get the boss, and then you have to get the exit. And I also could add treasure rooms, which would be the next type of room. You have like a good old treasure room that just gives you a lot of shards for your next run. And you can use it every run if you place it correctly. That's the advantage. That's one advantage I would consider having you do it in parts is if you have a treasure room toward getting the key, it's not going to help you when you go to fight the boss, and it's not going to help you when you go to get the exit to go to the next level. Speaking of the levels, sometimes the levels are going to have like shaded areas. Like there might be a shaded area that says, oh, this has to be a hard room to go here. Or this one has to be a medium room to be here, right? That way I could force you, and normally those are going to be on the road to, like, around the boss. Like there might be a boss here. Like this is the boss. You have to have assume these aren't there for some reason. These were yellow, and there also can be ones that are just like completely blocked off. You can't use these at all, right? You can't go here, you can't go here, you can't go here. The only place you come at it is the top, and you have to have a medium difficulty and a hard difficulty to get to this point. And I'm also considering every time you place a room, it has a chance to spawn like a mini boss. Like some sort of mini boss that just runs around and says,
that you can fight or ignore based on whatever you want. You can just run past it, or you can actually fight them. And the harder, as you go up in levels, you have a better chance of spawning a mini boss. And the mini boss moves from every time you go on a run, he moves to a different room that's adjacent to the room he was in. So he might start completely different. Like if you already have the key when he decides to spawn, he might not be in your way. Or he might be like directly in your way, and you have to either do something with him. You can always run away, or you can kill him. And he just generally makes that room harder because now there's this big enemy there. So that's the idea for Centaur Adventure, generally. This is very much a broad sketch. All I have so far is literally like 3 images. And I just now started programming, and I'm pretty sure how I'm going to actually do the actual laying out of the rooms, and I'm pretty sure how I'm going to actually have it generate the rooms. Because the current thinking for me is basically I'm going to have a image file for each room, which is each room is going to be a set size. It's going to have a door here, door here, door here, door here. If it doesn't, then it just replaces it with wall automatically. And I want to have each level be different. Like the first level would be, the walls will be trees, right? Except if you put that same room on the second level, the walls become stone. If you put it on the third level, maybe they become like some sort of like dried lava or something. The idea is each level has a different tile set that it uses, and each different level has its own tile set, and each different room actually slightly changes in color depending on its X and Y axis. So you know basically if you're close to the left or you're close to the right based on how dark everything looks. Specifically, like I want the forest to like get darker as you get more to the left, because I'm planning on putting the boss to the left. So the idea is you're moving through a forest and it's getting steadily darker as you go. X and Y gets greater, it gets steadily darker. That's the general idea. So this is probably the most rambling thing I've done so far. I hope it's somewhat interesting. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.